friends, welcome back to Ridgehaven Homestead Off-Grid Living. Let me tell you about a crazy idea that we had, and we brought it about just because we wanted to make something work, and it actually has worked. So come into my little office space and I'll tell you about it. Welcome to Ridgehaven Homestead. From the mountains of Upper East Tennessee, we share snippets of our off-grid life, cabin build, and garden blessings. Pour yourself a cup of tea, sit back, and take a peek into our off-grid home and family. So welcome back to my homestead, and welcome specifically back to my off-grid cabin. I'm Lori, and I wanted to show you a project that was just born out of necessity. Do you ascribe to the 3 R's of recycling, which are reduce, reuse, and recycle? And then there's also a phrase that sometimes we hear, which is use it up, wear it out, make it do, or do without. I don't know that anyone has specifically taught me that phrase or that little jingle, but I feel like I've always lived my life that way. That really is how I was raised. We made do, we used things up, we wore the clothes until they wore out. We just didn't waste a lot of stuff. Today, I want to show you the desk that I made, which was born out of necessity. I recently started a new job, and it's a job that I'm going to be doing at home. So I needed a dedicated space because how my brain works is I have to have kind of a clear space and to be somewhat organized so that I can think and I can focus. So amidst the chaos of sorting through things, continuing our building project and all those things, it's been a challenge to try to find a space like that, but I decided to make it happen. So first, which was last week, I put together a makeshift office space using our extra table and a bookshelf and some other things which I made out in the sunroom. And I really liked it, but then it was starting to hit me. I don't like using this space because if we have people over, I want to be able to use that table and chairs and then have people sit around it. So I said, well, I did all that work and I have to redo it. So that's just how I roll. But then I got to thinking, we had this big table thing that we just kept moving around and propping up against the wall, setting it out on the back porch, and we just weren't using it. It's just too big for our space, but it's really cool. It was a neat piece of furniture that we got, and I don't know, for some reason we were holding on to it. It's just the process of letting things go. So 2 days ago when I was looking at it, I was like, you know what? We are not using that thing. Yes, it's valuable. It's just not valuable to us. And so I said, why don't we try to make that happen? So it was this big table thing. It's actually a bar height island thing that we got for free a few years ago. I thought it would work great in our kitchen, but when we got it home, it was just way too heavy and way too big for our space. So we've never really used it except for, just like here and there to pile a bunch of tools on. So I said, what would happen if we were to cut that thing in half and make a desk out of it? And my guys were like, well, you can do what you want. But I thought, you know what? 2 things. We were gonna have to haul that thing off, and it takes like 3 people to move it. It's like granite and heavy wood. It's 2 inches thick. It's like a huge countertop, like 6 feet by 4 feet, and it's just really a heavy piece of furniture. So I said, well, all we are wasting is something that's already taking up our space. So why not try it? So that's what we did. I finally got one of my sons to agree to use his saw, and he sawed it in half for me. And I was like, well, we could just ruin this thing, but the fact that we were going to give it away anyway, or we were going to try to figure out a purpose for it, it made me relax a little bit and say, whatever, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, no problem. So we got it cut in half yesterday. And then I'm like, okay, I have these 2 file cabinets, 2 files high, that I planned to mount it on. Then when I was looking, these were Black Friday deals, and I didn't read the description enough to see that they were more lightweight. And so I'm like, okay, I don't think I want to put that heavy thing on the lightweight thing. So I have another source for getting some file cabinets, same size, just more heavy duty. And while I'm waiting for that source to come through, I said, I really want to get this office space set up. So what can I do? And I thought, well, I could wait till Thursday, which is when those file cabinets are going to be available, but I'm not really good at waiting. So I started thinking, what could I do? What could I do? And I'll show you what I did. You can see that behind me, and we made do. We decided to make it happen so that I could set the space up in the meantime, and then when I get the file cabinets, I can slide them under and it'll just be, everything's already in place. So let me show you a little closer. My microphone must have died and I didn't realize it until later, so I'm just showing you that we brought the small shelf up so that we could put office supplies and try to get some organization into our lives. As we step a little bit closer to the desk area, you'll see this slab. It is 2 inches thick and it has the granite pieces that you can still see. We saved those. We just sliced straight down the middle and then we ended up with 2 equal pieces. Once we had those 2 smooth pieces, it was time to bring them upstairs and commence with what we were going to prop them on. We did end up getting a lot of tomatoes in our last bulk food order, and so I thought, well, it's not going to hurt to have those stored upstairs versus in the pantry, so we hauled boxes of tomatoes. After we hauled all those tomato cases, it was time to stack them up and see just how tall we wanted them. First I started with 6 high, and then I realized I actually wanted 7 high, and then when we got the 7 high, it was the perfect height, but it was a little bit tippy, so I went ahead and Adam helped me, thankfully. We stacked 2 deep, so there are 2 stacks of 7 cases each for a total of 28 cases of tomatoes. So do the math on that with 12 cans per case, and you'll find that we used a lot of tomato cans to hold this up, but it ended up being very sturdy and it doesn't tip. I suppose if I hung on it with all my weight it would tip, but it's pretty sturdy. It's propped up against the wall, which is slanted, and it's working really well for our needs. Once again, we don't see this as a permanent solution, but we actually can use it for a while, and it gives us a little bit of wiggle room. I do plan to get those file cabinets at the end of this week, and so they should be able to slide in, and then we just transition the tomato cans out. But even if I wait a little bit longer, this is actually working really well. And when I bring the file cabinets, I'm thinking, since they are about 28 to 32 inches, I may use a row of tomato cans anyway to just prop this up to the height that I like, because I don't like my desk really low. The rest of the supplies in this little work area are things that we had from before. I still have to go through that big tower of stuff. I've been doing inch by inch, little by little, and trying to not get overwhelmed. But I did go to the Dollar Tree and get some clear dividers to put on the desk to organize our supplies, and it's worked really well and didn't have to spend a fortune. So I wanted to show you about this chair because it's pretty cool. This chair is truly an antique, and it's also a family treasure. This was a chair that belonged to my husband's mother, and she used it at her sewing machine table with her very old Singer sewing machine. So about 10 years ago, after we inherited it, Austin and I, we recovered it with this vinyl, which we also got from her collection. And the cool thing is about it, you lift up the seat and it stores all kinds of spools of thread. So it has a lot of storage, and some of these spools of thread are pretty old with the wooden spools. Most of them are plastic spools, but still pretty old. So we have that as just a reminder of Greg's mom. It's pretty cool, and it actually is pretty comfortable. I'm glad to use it in our office. And yesterday I just put some of those felt pads on the feet so that it could slide across the wood floor without marring it too much, and it's really working for our needs. Behind me we have this red recliner, which is actually a red burgundy leather recliner that I put this cover on to match our downstairs decor. Then we ended up not having the space for it, and so here it sits. And just before I shot this video, I sat on there with that massage cover on it, and I gave myself a head massage and a neck massage and a back massage. It felt really good to just sit there. So it's all set up for whoever wants to come and just get a little bit of relaxation while they're away from the rest of the house. So here's our tomato desk, and I just mentioned that I got the things from the Dollar Tree. I really like the clear acrylic dividers, and we're just right now using an iPad and a keyboard, and it works really well. It's my little retro keyboard that works with Bluetooth. I just love it. And then the sign behind me with my name on it is one that Andrew made for me a while ago when he was doing some wood burning projects, and so I have put that on there to remember him. And as I move the things off the desk a little bit, you can see that the granite is still intact. There was nothing destroyed. So it's a good solid desktop that's not going anywhere because it is so heavy. The wooden divider is just a really handy addition to our desktop. This actually came from Sam's over 25 years ago. We had it before we got married, and we've used it many times over the last 25 years. As we go down the steps, you can see that we put this little Christmas tree up at the top of the steps, and this is actually sitting on my very old vintage Singer sewing machine table. I haven't used it yet. I have it on my list of things to learn when time shall allow. As we look down from the top of the loft into the living room, we can see what we did with the other half of that table that we cut. So let's go downstairs and take a closer look. Amid the protests from certain people in my family who said, "No, Mom, don't do that," we did go ahead and use this tabletop to make a coffee table. We had two wicker tables in here, basically, that go with our wicker set. And I said, why not push them together? We'll put this top on it. We'll have a longer coffee table. It is not conventional, and it's way longer than most people's coffee tables, but I do kind of like it because everybody sitting on either sofa can prop their feet on it. It's super solid, and it's serving the purpose of a coffee table until my little carpenter decides that he has the time to make us a coffee table. I know that he'll do a great job, but in the meantime, this gives us a solid coffee table, and I figured I can cover it up with something, and here we have it. So I got two for the price of one, a desktop and a coffee table. It's super solid, and yeah, two things for free out of something else that we got for free. That's my kind of doing business. I probably need to rethink my decor on the table. Since the table is so much bigger, I'll probably spread it out, but for now, I just like the bright colors. It's a good addition to our living room. The moral of this story for me is don't be afraid to take things that you're not using anyway. You can reinvent them, repurpose them, and just make something completely new. You're not going to lose anything, and you might even get a desk out of tomato cans. As always, thanks for watching, and until next time, be safe, stay well, and may God bless you richly in your family.